Testing sound, testing sound.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
Test. Okay. Let you get that picture taken. Okay. Good morning. Everybody ready to go? Done your vocal exercises and looked in the mirror and you're ready. Good. Well, once again, I know we have some people who weren't able to be here last night. So for those of you who just joined us, congratulations and welcome to the 8th annual Optimist World Oratorical Championships. Just a couple announcements, and then what we will be doing is calling up the Northeast and Great Lakes region so that you will go over and take your seat, and we'll get the first speaker mic'd up. There was a question apparently last night after we had finished about whether or not you should wear your little letter badges when you're speaking. Do not wear your badges when you're speaking, okay? Because part of the problem is they're going to reflect some of that light. They're shiny. So yes, when you get mic'd up, take your badge off. Reminder that lunch is between 11:30 and 1:30. And if you haven't gotten your lunch tickets, they're up at the registration table. If any of you didn't get a parking pass, there are also parking passes for the garage up there. Are there any other questions that anyone thought of after you left last night? Yes. Oh, Can you video as long as there's no flash? Sure, as long as there's no flash, you're fine. But if you want to video your child, yes, absolutely. Yes, back here. I'm talking about, okay, wanted to know if it was the pin that, oh yeah, it's your plastic badge. That's what's going to reflect the light. Okay. Anything else? All right. If not, would our first round contestants come forward and we will get you started and organized. And I think that's everything. Dave, anything else? Sunny, anything else? Okay.
Good morning, contestants. Good morning, contestants. Good morning. Best wishes to everyone. Ready to get started. Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, for those of you who weren't here last night, don't worry about where the judges are because they're behind this wall. We have some virtual judges, we have some virtual contestants. And so in order to be fair to the virtual contestants, we put the judges watching everybody the same way. So your eye contact should be directed anywhere in the room. And just, speak to the audience and it's going to be fine. The blue tape is up here now. So just don't go past those blue tape lines and you'll be on camera. You'll be fine.
Testing, one, testing, we good? Okay. Testing. Testing, one. Good. Okay. Up. I want to make sure. Let's. Testing. Today we are going to talk about optimism. It's going to be good. I'm excited. Can everybody hear me? Louder. A little louder. Okay, we adjusted on. Okay. Oh yeah. Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Kind of? Still very soft? Okay. Good morning. Anybody hear me? No. I am just gonna talk until this works. I'm gonna keep talking until see if it works. I can't hear you. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Bench 2. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Do, 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 do. Okay. Are you guys gonna use the handheld or the lavalier? Yeah. Like being able to do things with my hands. I don't want to be stuck. Yeah, shaking. Yeah, I feel like if I cough, everybody's gonna hear me cough. But I need to cough. You could take a deep breath. Unless they turn the mic way up. I think they're gonna turn it way up and then my jacket will like bang and it'll flex. You know? Yeah, later. Thanks. I went to Kohl's and I was like, what can I buy? Yeah. I ended up doing that with pants. I was like, whatever. I preserve a little bit of femininity.
Perfect. Testing, testing. You hear me?
Nope.
Testing. A,
After
B,
this.
C, D.
How's the volume on that? Is it okay? It's still a little, both of them a little low? Okay. Tom, we're both a little low.
Now we can have conversations with each other.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Say good morning.
Good morning. I am speaking into this mic again because we're trying to test it still.
Appreciate that.
It's
Louder?
louder? Okay, that's good. A little more.
A little more. On the front.
Just get my presenting voice on.
There you go. No, it's not. Is
Hello?
Yep.
I am speaking.
that better? Okay. I think we got it set on the first one. I mean, and the same thing, just good morning, say a few things.
Morning. Can everybody hear me? Still low?
That-
A little bit louder. How about now? We good?
say it a little bit more.
Still a little bit.
Getting better. Still more? Still more.
It's a slow grind.
Well, hopefully there'll be
We need
adjustments.
some audience participation.
I know.
Sing a song. All right.
All right, let's test it now. We good?
Try your.
Hello, everybody. I am talking.
All
Woohoo.
right. All right.
All right.
We're both on.
Yeah, literally. Because I can talk. Yeah. Who can talk for the long? That's oh, really?
Say good morning one more time.
Good morning, everybody. I'm testing it again. Okay. know what else to say. Oh, there we go. It's on now. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Nope.
Mic three, no mic three. How about now?
Yep.
4. This is fancy. What? Yeah. It's okay. It's giving me an opportunity to practice with it.
No.
We good?
You're good.
All right.
You're still live.
Oh,
Okay,
all right.
I'm gonna turn you off.
So don't say anything.
That's fine. We're gonna. What? One more time?
For me, I am speaking one last time to test it. Yay.
Okay. Finishes up. Do you want the lab or do you want the? Okay. So when she finishes up, you're gonna come right back. And I'll get you like that same thing if you want the lab. When he finishes up, I'm on right back and I'll get you like that. You hear that? Okay.
I'm back.
That's what we have. What this is for? You good?
Oh, good. Yeah.
That is so fun. Okay, but that is like my favorite place ever. I love that. Yeah, it's amazing. No, but I've been to San Francisco. And then it's a fun place. Wear tennis shoes. You will need that. Yeah. And like, jeans. Right? Right after this or right after tomorrow? Are you coming back? Okay. So true. It's a good idea to use it. It's like a college visit too. You might as well visit it. So you're a rising senior? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, a few 14-year-olds. There's a girl who just finished 8th grade. 8th grade. I'm 18. Me too. I should have brought a water bottle over here. It's right there. I want to see them so I'm gonna watch it virtually. I don't know if I'll watch it on the live stream. I think they'll probably. They're at 6:30. They find confirmed. Yeah. Right. You're not like, I'm sorry. Literally. It was so funny because I pulled speaker A. I started laughing because I was like,
Just to give everyone an update, we're having a little technology issue, so we're going to bring the judges into the room. So just hold on for a second. Now some overlap. Then the finals are complete, so they're all by name.
oh, that is awesome. That's really awesome.
And it's not always. Yeah, they all speak French and. The first year, yeah, we couldn't get enough of the fight. So we had to have a few that use the translate. But it's much better if they can. they know.
Understand. Probably mine. I want to see the Frankenstein. It was funny because I didn't even take off the top. I like digged underneath and I pulled out like the bottom one. I was like,
Now we're consistent.
he's back there. Yeah.
Okay, if everyone would please take their seats. We will start with the Northeast and Great Lakes region. And sergeants, if you'll make sure that no one enters while anyone is speaking. And again, I just remind you that you hold your applause until after everybody has spoken and we've excused the judges. Then at that point, I'll have them all come up on stage and they'll introduce themselves and we'll give them all a big round of applause at that point. So with that, we're ready with speaker A.
Ladies and gentlemen, I come before you today to speak about discovering the optimism within me. What I intend to show you is how optimism has become a conscious decision in my everyday life. At summer camp, the year I was 12, we had a class about optimism and becoming more optimistic. The teacher began our discussion by asking who among us considered ourselves a natural optimist. I shook my head laughing at her question. I, of all people, knew there was no way I was an optimist, right? My routine complaining and stress landed me among the many others who found pessimism an easy escape route from taking responsibility for emotions. I thought I would never change. Little did I know what was in store. When you were young, did you ever go to the bottom of a pool and just sit there? Did you look up to where the water met the blue sky and watch the light diffusing and dissipating into the water? Did you ever get stuck down there? Or have a moment of sheer panic when your lungs screamed for air and your mind wondered if you could ever make it back to that blue sky in time? When I entered high school, life got really, really difficult. Homework, friends, extracurriculars, and the demands of figuring out where I fit in. I felt as if I was at the bottom of that pool, unable to kick off and reach the light. Drowning in work and anxiety, my mind was unendingly filled with thoughts of everything I had to do and every way I was falling short. It seemed that 12-year-old me had been completely right. There was no way I was an optimist. There was no way I could ever become an optimist. It was then, in a time that rivaled L.M. Montgomery's depths of despair, that I discovered optimism. Having recently learned about the power of thought, my mother approached me with a hope that matched my despair. She shared her newfound belief in choosing optimism by choosing our thoughts. Let me break it down for you. Our minds are filled with thousands of ideas. Some of these ideas are observations about the world around us. Observations are facts, concrete, objective facts that we cannot control. Whether it be our economic circumstances, the families we're born into, consequences of others' actions, there are many things that are completely outside of our control. The other ideas in our minds are our reflections on the circumstances we find ourselves in, our beliefs, our fears, our hopes, our assumptions. It was not in actual experience or circumstance, but in these subjective thoughts that I discovered my locus of control. As I actively swapped every negative assumption for a positive hope, my attitude and my mood began to change. The only thing humanity can do to discover optimism is to choose to take 100% responsibility for emotions by deciding which ideas and beliefs to accept and which ideas and beliefs to reject. There is true power in seeing the glass half full. Some things make it easy to choose optimism. Tall trees with their endless shades of red and orange and yellow. Tall mountains, their peaks just barely capped in snow. The beauties of nature remind me again and again that there is still so much good in our ever-broken world, and that having things outside of my control can be beautiful and exciting. Other times, it's a battle to find a ray of light penetrating the sea. On days where exhaustion threatens to overwhelm and I feel like I cannot tread water any longer, it takes everything inside of me to choose optimism instead of giving in. But each time that I win that battle, I am left with peace and hope, the warm sunshine filling my soul with light. Junior year, I had just moved across the world and was trying to make friends at a new school. It was, again, a vulnerable time in my life. As I reached outside of my comfort zone and interacted with those around me, I began to notice distinct differences between me and my peers. Where others complained, I expressed excitement. Where others lost all hope, I found something to hold on to. Where others avoided eye contact, I smiled at each person I passed in the hallway. As I came to this realization, I paused, stunned. Had I become an optimist? But when? I asked myself, where? How? The truth is, there was never one single moment. I didn't wake up one day and decide I am an optimist now. Instead, it has been a series of never-ending decisions to see the world in all of its beauty and hope and light. I invite you to choose this life. Choose to take control of your thoughts and discover the optimism within you. Thank you.
Testing, testing. Everyone hear me? Okay. Had to keep it fresh. With the out, little blue on blue.
Speaker B.
Discovering the optimism within me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I invite you to come along with me on a grand adventure today. You know, I like to think optimism can be found in the smallest of things, even a tiny cartoon character like Peppa the Pig. Well, Peppa's known for that grunt of optimism. Let's dig a little deeper. Today, we will find optimism through the valuable letters in Peppa's name. P-E-P-P-A, representing persistence, empathy, prove, present, and achieve. So let the adventure begin with the letter P for persistent. I once had the honor of listening to WNBA icon Teresa Weatherspoon tell a touching story. 3 frogs were stuck in a well trying to get out, yet all around were haters saying you have no value. The first 2 frogs jumped and gave up. See, they listened to the haters. This 3rd frog was different. It jumped and leaped and kept on jumping till it got out. But how? That's impossible, said the haters. See, this frog was deaf. It could not hear the haters' words, which were nothing but an illusion of delusion. Me and you, we face pessimism and setbacks every day. Yet, when we have this 3rd frog's persistence to overcome them, we find optimism. The next letter in our adventure is E for empathy. Back in 4th grade, I had a long day, as 4th graders do. That night, I was talking to a janitor who was sad, on the verge of tears. See, everyone in that gym had left her to clean this pigsty of a gym alone. I almost left, but something stopped me. Then it struck me. It was empathy. The same empathy that had me picking trash with my bare hands for a half hour. She was now smiling with a spark of optimism, feeling her value. We have to be there for each other. That's the power of empathy. So on we move to the letter P for prove. I'm thinking of my guy, Jimmy Butler, the NBA star. Did you know he was abandoned and kicked out of the house by his parents? As a young media entrepreneur, sometimes I feel invalidated. But proving myself makes me feel like an all-star. You too have proven so much. That is another key to discovering optimism. Well, we have arrived at the letter P, this time representing present. See, so many times in life we're worried about the past of yesterday, the future of tomorrow. We lose sight of where we are today in the present. Look around this room. This is the Optimist Club, the most powerful people in the world. I see young people and young at heart who will continue to do great things. You all have value. However, I may never see some of you ever again. It's a present to be in the present with all of you, and I find deep optimism in discovering that. This adventure has led us to the final letter, A, for achieve. I'm a struggling athlete. I know what it's like for everyone to doubt me. Yet I find optimism in the little wins. Think of your small achievements because they have value. Realizing this is a last key to discovering optimism. Well, congratulations, mesdames et messieurs. We have successfully completed this adventure. We found optimism through the valuable letters of Peppa, representing persistence, empathy, prove, present, and achieve. Just remember, value ends with you. I value you. Just say no to pessimism and say yes to Peppaism.
Testing, testing. Can everyone hear me?
Speaker C.
Discovering the optimism within me. Optimism, a word that brings power and brings life, but often remains just a word instead of a way of life. And why? Well, we tend to equate optimism with a dream. We think of it as a blind belief in the positive and an abandonment of the imminent. But no, optimism has 20/20 vision. It sees those flaws, it knows those challenges, but it chooses to stay because it knows that that optimism, despite everything, is the only way to become what it's supposed to become. And echoed in the words of Leo Tolstoy, everybody wants to change the world, but nobody is willing to change themselves. But truly, how will we find optimism in a broken world if we cannot find it in these broken people? And in accordance with the words of Harry S. Truman, a pessimist is one who makes difficulties of their opportunities, but an optimist is one who makes opportunities of their difficulties. But unfortunately, in a world with the don't hope too much mentality, we tend to resonate more with the pessimist than we do the optimist. This was a dilemma that a man named Gideon in the Bible faced. You see, Gideon was called to save his people from an enemy army. And when doing so, he was referred to as mighty warrior. But rather than being encouraged at such a remark, Gideon shrunk within himself because he could not comprehend the words mighty and warrior next to his name. He had gone so far in his belief that he viewed his own identity as his greatest weakness. But long story short, Gideon was victorious because in the end, he discovered that he was far more than what his own mind had told him. And now, you might not know the story or believe in the Bible, but believe in the message of hope, the message of an ordinary and overlooked man finding his optimism and becoming an extraordinary leader. And even today, such a story parallels. No leader can thread mountains without confidence. No parent can raise a family without faith in that family's future. No teenager can begin to survive adolescence without an inner self-worth. And in realizing this, I started to ask myself, can I discover the optimism within me? I'm just a teenager. Well, some time ago, I had to learn how to. You see, 5 years ago, my mom started experiencing pain in her upper body. And then pain became visits to the chiropractor. And then it came to a point where easy movements was a literal struggle. And I was very young. I had to take on more household responsibilities and endure seeing my own mom in pain for nearly a year. And if I'm being honest, it took a lot more than just positive affirmations to get through that time. It took an optimism I honestly didn't even know I carried. Like Gideon, I needed to find the positive in a situation that was anything but. And I did. And my optimism not only empowered me, but it radiated onto my mom, and she too started believing that she would get better. And today, well, she can walk, she can run, she can move comfortably because of my optimism. So ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to stop wishing and start hoping. Nobody said there won't be times where you'll honestly just want to walk away. But we must learn to prove the voices that put us down wrong and live in a world where the pessimist keeps moving forward, where the afraid know that even though they are crawling, at least they are still moving, and where we discover the optimism in this broken world by finding it within our broken selves first. Thank you.
Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing. Testing, testing.
A little higher.
Oh, yeah. Test. Yeah. Testing, testing.
That's good. Ready to rumble?
Speaker D.
Discovering the optimism within me. Albert Einstein once said, there are two ways you can live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Optimists choose the latter. Optimism is an invaluable trait that comes from a plethora of sources. Discovering the optimism within me comes with and from my supportive family, positive experiences, and challenging life events that are approached with a hopeful countenance. In my case, living in a small village in upstate New York, the optimism within me is discovered in the community that I'm fortunate to surround myself with. This is evidenced by the many extracurricular opportunities afforded to all students in our high school and community, the programs in place to grow our community's youth, and the impactful ways that we show our love for one another. All of these pieces have contributed to the person I am today, and to the optimism I am able to approach each day with. Extracurriculars are what buoyed me after spending all of those months alone in my bedroom. Specifically, this was NYS CLSA, or the New York State Council on Leadership and Student Activities. When my student council advisor first presented this opportunity to me, little did I know of the connections and friendships I could establish with peers and leaders across the state. Thinking about the ways in which we can design an experience for our peers to engage in has fueled my optimism and inspired me. Another program that inspires and brings out the optimism in my community is our local summer recreation program. While I was once the child participating in these beneficial community programs for youth, I've recently seen the other side of it. The past 2 summers that I've spent working at my town's local summer recreation program has opened up my eyes to the benefits that these programs hold for kids. Seeing their faces light up as they play with their friends or begin to learn to swim makes me laugh, which in turn brings out the optimism in me. Even outside of the summer recreation program, as I see the kids around town or at sports games, the hugs, high fives, and highs truly brighten my day. I can attest to the sense of connection and belonging that these programs bring to youth of all backgrounds. The threads that are woven through every small town in America are the people who live in the neighborhoods and support each other during times of strife. This interconnectedness is again demonstrated through a local event my family hosts. The Daniel Barden Mudfest was established to honor the life of family friend, Daniel Barden, a first grader who tragically lost his life in the Sandy Hook Elementary school shooting. Each year, thousands of people from New York, Connecticut, and surrounding areas gather to celebrate his life and use profits to donate to charity through a 5K and 5-mile mud run. In a time of grief and despair, many adults in my life turn such an unfathomable event into something positive. I am inspired by the ways that my community comes together to support this event and also each other on the challenging obstacle course. While at a young age, merely in first grade myself, I learned the realities of our scary world. The Mudfest has continued to time and time again realign my belief in the good of people by the generosity and support that my community dishes out to support this event. Optimism helps us to maintain a positive attitude and outlook, even in the face of adversity. I've led a fortunate life so far, and it's not lost on me that it's largely due to my network of family, friends, and neighbors who make up my small town. Neighbors who cheer us on, who give their time to design programming to support our community's youth, and lend whatever they can when someone is in need. I didn't discover the optimism within me all on my own. My people had all the influence. Thank you.
All right, testing. Can everyone hear me?
Speaker E.
Discovering the optimism within me has been hard to predict. Was I born an optimist, or was it handed back down to me from my parents? Family, friends, and honorable judges. There are many things that we have learned to better predict. The weather, the stock market, even the outcome of sports games. But the one thing that will forever remain unpredictable is life itself, which is why discovering the optimism within me has been Stanley Cup in 55 years. Or the Cardinals, who are going for their 12th World Series championship this year. Do we have any Cardinal fans in the audience? Sometimes, before you know it, the season is over and we find ourselves saying, maybe next year. That is optimism. I have learned that anything that brings us happiness can bring us an equal amount of sadness once it is gone. When we lose the things that are important to us, like a job or a loved one, we become quite sad. It is only then when we realize just how important these things were to us. I guess it's true that you never know how much you love something until it's gone. Through discovering my own optimism, I now understand that when an unfortunate situation happens in my life, I need to look at it with a positive perspective. Speaking of unfortunate situations, yesterday I arrived at the airport with a suitcase filled with optimism, only to find out that my flight was canceled. It was my optimistic mindset and my dad driving for 15 hours straight that brought me here today. That is optimism. My path to finding optimism was not easy because I'm very hard on myself. In fact, my biggest fear in life is the fear of failure. Last year, I got my learner's permit for driving. And although I was excited, I was extremely nervous. In fact, I wouldn't even get behind the wheel of a car for the first 6 months of having my permit. It was my optimism that led me to have confidence in my ability to drive. And now, I'd like to think I'm a pretty good driver. I'm optimistic that my parents will let me take the car out on the weekends. My parents are equally optimistic that I will bring their car back in one piece. Albert Einstein once said, "I have tried and failed 99 times, but on the 100th came success." Isn't that what optimism is all about? Trying to see the positive side, embracing hope, and never giving up. Optimism is the fuel that ignites the passion within. It's the driving force behind our mindset, and it is the only choice needed to change our lives. Optimism has helped me throughout my life by enabling me to be positive no matter what situation I'm in. Optimism is the most powerful tool we can possess. And guess what? We all have it. Because with an open mind that can only see opportunity, our potential is endless. Ladies and gentlemen, was I born an optimist? Yes. Was it handed down to me from my parents? Absolutely. Will the Cardinals win the World Series this year? For sure. And will my parents buy me my own car? I really hope so. When we change the way we think, we can change our future. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is optimism.
Speaker F, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, we cannot hear you right now, so.
Can you hear me now?
Can you say something for us just so we can test your microphone?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay. We'll make a few adjustments in the back room and hopefully so just hold on just a second.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
For those in the back room, and maybe we're just not hearing her in the arena. If the judge is back
We
there,
are
can
waiting
hear.
a couple seconds.
So we just
can
need to
hear
get
her.
it fixed out here.
Hold on just a few seconds, Speaker F. We are fixing this.
Okay.
We can hear you on Zoom. We are just making sure that everyone can hear you in the auditorium. So stand by.
Speaker F, can you say something again?
Hello, can you hear me?
Ah, yes, beautiful. So are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Oh, hold on just a second. You may proceed, Speaker F.
Good morning, honorable judges, fellow contestants, family, friends, and optimists. Today, I'll speak to you about my personal experience of discovering the optimism within me. Optimism is a word we've heard a lot, but do we really know what it means? I think it means something different for each and every one of us. For one person, it can mean positivity and always looking on the bright side of things. For another, it can mean something that is completely unattainable and an impossible mindset. For me and many others, it means hope and trusting that things will work out eventually. Being an optimist isn't always easy. I should know, I speak from experience. Whenever I got a bad grade, I was never thinking about how I could do better next time. Instead, I was thinking about how disappointed I am in myself and how I'd never improve. Learning the optimist mindset is an ongoing process for me, and I'm still trying to understand what it truly means. Today, I'll speak to you about the past that made me who I am today, my present mindset, and my goals for the future. My past is something that I look back on every day, sometimes obsessively, yet it has defined me and helped me grow. Winston Churchill once said, "A pessimist sees a difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." Not long ago, I had either a difficulty or an opportunity, however you'd like to see it. I lived in the United States for almost half my life, and in 2020, I had to leave everything behind and move back to India. My friends, memories, and the entire life I'd built up in the States, I had to leave it all. In the meantime, my family had begun looking into moving to Canada, and within 3 months of moving to India, my mom moved to Canada. This crushed me all over again. As time went by, all I was thinking about was moving to Canada and seeing my mom again. I was so focused on the future that I forgot to live in the present. Sure, I enjoyed being with my grandparents, cousins, and my friends, but I never truly lived in the moment. It took almost 2 years to see her again, almost 2 years to move to Canada. Those were the longest 2 years of my life. Looking back now, I regret not making the most of my time in India. I'm realizing, a little bit too late, that I was a huge pessimist when I was there. I found something negative in everything I did. The truth is, I hated moving around. I craved the life of my friends who were still in the US. I could have chosen to laugh it off and find an opportunity in the bad things, but instead I chose to whine and sulk about it. In any case, dwelling on the past when I'm in the future I dreamed of is just plain unproductive. The author William Ward said, "The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, and the realist adjusts the sails." This speaks to me because recently I've considered myself a realist. I'm neither hugely disappointed about things, but it's rare if I'm immensely positive about things. This may seem a bit contradictory, because I just said that I was a pessimistic person in India, which is true, but nowadays I found myself becoming more and more realistic about things. Soon I'll be going to high school, and an optimist would think, "Oh good, a new chapter in my life. I can't wait." And they wouldn't be wrong, but let's be realistic here. High school isn't all sunshine and rainbows. I won't complain about it either, because it's not the end of the world. I'm just bracing myself for the impact of the long 4 years of high school and doing everything I can to prepare myself. That's what a realist would do, right? And finally, the future. It's normal to be scared about it, but to what extent? One of my biggest fears is wasting my life away. As the writer Vivian Green always said, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Whenever I'm afraid of what the future will bring, I remind myself, even through all the storms we may cross and all the decisions we make, as long as we learn to dance through it, we'll make it through. In the future, it doesn't matter if I'm optimistic or realistic. I just don't want to be a pessimist. I've learned the hard way that nitpicking and micromanaging about things I can't control gets me nowhere. A wasted life isn't a thing, as long as we enjoy our time on this earth and do what we love. We have around 78 years here. Let's spend it being whatever we want, whether it's a pessimist, optimist, or realist. I'm leaving you today with this. Optimism is not the cure to world hunger, and it will not solve all your problems, but it can make your view on life at least a tiny bit better. To sum it up, I told you about my past, present, my goals for the future, and how optimism has affected my life in ways that may seem small, but feel so huge to me. At the end of the day, it's our own choice. Do we wait for the storm to pass, or do we learn to dance in the rain? Thank you.
Speaker F, if you'll stay on with this after we excuse the judges, we're going to be introducing all our contestants and we'll want to introduce you as well. But for everybody in the room right now, this is your opportunity to give all of our speakers a big round of applause. And I would ask the speakers if you would come across the stage here in your speaking order. And again, after we excuse the judges, I'll have you introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe what your plans are for the future. And most importantly, remember the supporters that have either come with you or supported you behind the scenes. So just hold on just a second and we will do that. Okay, Speaker A.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Prisbila. I am from Beaver Creek, Ohio, which is a small suburb outside of Dayton. Am I talking about my plans for the future? Okay. This is my time. I just graduated high school from Beaver Creek High School, and I plan on attending Brigham Young University this next fall. I want to double major. I want to major in French and something else that is fabulous that I haven't figured out yet. I want to thank my mom for being here today and for driving the 6 hours and for singing in the hotel room with me and giving me hugs. I love her so much. I want to thank my dad for staying home with my 6 younger siblings who are not an easy task. I love him very much too. And I want to thank my best friend for inspiring me to wear this blazer. That's a little bit outside of my comfort zone usually. So thank you.
My name is Vedant Gupta. I'm from Grand Blanc, Michigan. Some of you may know Flint, Michigan. So right outside of there in Grand Blanc, and I will be a senior coming this fall. I just want to say thank you to the audience. This is the Optimist Club. It's about inspiring people. And first of all, this room, this stage of the speakers I'm sharing the stage with right now, y'all are amazing. The audience, y'all are amazing for supporting your speaker and each other. At the end of the day, I just hope that whether win or lose, I hope my speech touched some people. And that's what it's all about, is let's all inspire each other a little bit. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deborah Coco. I'm from Windsor, Ontario in Canada. Yeah, I'm just really grateful to be here. You know, regardless of the outcome of this competition, when I first started Optimist, I was very nervous, very jumpy. But even as I progressed, I can see and I can feel more confidence. I can feel more passion for what I'm saying. It's more than just talking. You're also spreading your message. And it's honestly just really awesome to be here. I want to thank everyone for this opportunity and for the people working behind the scenes to make this possible for each and every one of us. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Hanley Poyer. I'm from Deansboro, New York. Really small town, probably never heard of it. I'm gonna be a rising senior in the fall, and I want to thank my parents for all of their continued support and my brother. And I really just want to thank my Optimist Club and everyone back in New York, Terry Davis and Brian Mogan. I've been doing this competition since I was in 7th grade. And so, you know, growing from a, shy 13-year-old and up through the years, they just supported me every step along the way. So I just want to thank them.
Hi, so my name is Ankit Gahani. I'm representing the Optimist Club of Aurora. I just want to give a special thanks to everyone who's helped me get here today. My dad especially, he had quite the drive. So, thank you, Dad. And I'm a senior next year going into grade 12, hoping to get into business and finance, that type of thing. And I just want to say all the speakers who came up here today, it takes a lot to come and do what we do, especially speaking in front of all these people, everyone online watching as well. It really takes something that a lot of people may or may not have. So congratulations to everyone here today. And yeah.
And Speaker F, if you would be so kind as to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Leanne John. I will be a freshman in the fall. I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to thank my mom and my dad who really helped with all the online stuff and all the tech and everything. And I want to thank my teacher, Mr. Stout, who introduced me to this program. And I'm really excited. And thank you so much. And I want to congratulate everyone else that's on the stage in St. Louis right now. I live in London, Ontario. So I couldn't make it there today, but yeah, thank you.
Hey, well, congratulations to each of you. And again, I just want to remind the audience that each of these are already champions. This is truly a tournament of champions. And I know you're a little nervous to go first, but it's good to have that out of the way. And now you can relax a little bit the rest of the day. Excellent job by each and every one of you. We will be starting at 10:15 with our next region. So why don't we take what we call in my business a 10-minute recess? Speaker F, stay on there. We can probably even get one with you in here too. So who are we missing? A, B, C. Could we put Speaker F on the big screen? Is there a chance so we can get a picture with her as well? There you go, speaker. If you're now on the big screen, so now we can get a picture of all of you. Okay, Speaker F, thank you. Excellent job. And you're free to go, or you can stay on TV if you want to. See ya.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Test. Testing mic volume 2. Mic 2 volume. Mic 2 volume. Mic 1 volume. Mic 1 volume. Test. Testing mic 4. This is mic 4. This is mic 2. Testing mic 2. Testing mic 2. Mic 2. Testing mic 2. Testing mic 2. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing.
Okay.
Okay.
So our two in-persons will give us a thumbs up, and then you as a virtual will give us a thumbs up. Okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in the main room. And then they're gonna do a couple tests to make sure that you can hear in the main room. And I will have them do that now, and just give them a thumbs up as well.
There wasn't any mic on.
Okay? And you can direct message me at any time. I will send you a message first so that you know which Optimus International to message, because there's multiple names of Optimus International.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. All right, well, I will send you back to the main room. Thank you. Mhm.
One of the judges was asking me to go to the beach. Can we go to
Judge? Like the judges are not here. Oh, okay. He's out. Yes. Okay. See, Toastmasters are represented today. Yeah.
So. We have a great view here.
Yeah, I still saw that. I just turned it off.
So
What was it?
we using pictures back here. So I said,
We're getting my picture, were you?
no, but we were here.
But we needed it real quick.
I was testing.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you
So,
can get your test.
Dave, this is the other judge. Okay. This is Dave.
Hi there.
He is going.
Well, actually,
Oh,
Bob.
actually, Bob is, okay. So she wants to do a test to make sure that she can hear out there before you let Bob do the introductions.
Yeah.
To make sure that the judge and everybody.
Yeah, we made sure that we did that.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Judge, I'm going to have you go in the main room and we'll do some tests shortly. Thank you much. I love your background.
So you teach, is that right?
The nonprofit.
Okay.
Me too. I teach every day.
Yeah, well, we all learn every day. If we hopefully do and teach.
I got the audio. About 180 kids this summer, so
So
That's
we're
what I heard you
good.
saying. That's fantastic.
definitely teaching.
And what's your profession?
Yeah. Yo.
Well, we're actually retired.
Okay. But I bet you did something before that.
We could have.
Products program.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
As well as
You want me to test it? Oh,
Yeah.
test.
August 30th.
Test.
Okay.
Already good to go.
Yeah, you're not good to go yet, but
I mean, like, that's what the, Jesus, so loud. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I just ask everybody to please take their seats? We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Test, good morning. Testing.
We're getting to that.
Let's see.
Hands to get there, man.
Okay.
No. Well, if we're gonna change our signals, used to be we just did this, now I'm gonna go.
Right.
No. I didn't give you the indication. Oh, that was good practice. That was training for you. What year we did have this? You, me, and Benny. We lost the judge. The Zoom judge dropped off, so they're getting her back.
Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Just bear with us for a second. We've lost our Zoom judge, so we're having to get them back online.
Okay, ready.
Ready?
Okay, we are ready to go. So it is my honor and pleasure to introduce the Great Plains region contestants. Just some reminders, ladies and gentlemen, please no entering or exiting during a speech. And please no applause until the end. I know it's very difficult, but please sit on your hands or clasp your hands together because I know how difficult it is not to applaud. So it is my honor now to ask Speaker A.
Discovering the optimism within me. You always remember that first brutally cold day of the school year. It's that day when we all finally admit that summer is over and pack away the shorts. I remember this day this last year. It was less than 30 degrees outside and I had a 2-hour-long marching band rehearsal ahead of me. Before long, my hands were dry and cracked, my toes were numb, and the mood around the band was certainly at an all-time low. Regardless of the crabbiness we all possessed that morning, my section mate turned to me in between reps, giddy as ever, and she asked for me to smile. Smile, I remember thinking, as if we all weren't freezing our absolute tails off. But I did as she told me anyway, and I smiled. And right when I smiled, she broke out into smile laughter as well. And I could see what was so funny. It was so cold out that our cheeks were completely frozen. So when we tried to smile, our lips moved, but our cheeks didn't budge. In the simplest terms possible, we all look like a bunch of 3-year-olds being forced to say, cheese. We laughed about this for a while and encouraged those around us to smile as well. This simple interaction reshaped the entirety of this rehearsal moving forward. The poor mood is broken. Looking back now, this is one of the best rehearsals we had all season. Not due to high productivity levels or perfect weather conditions by any means, but rather our ability to preserve and transform a frigid morning into a fun one. One thing this scenario taught me is that joy and positivity are completely focus-based. As Viktor Frankl, author for Man's Search for Meaning, quotes, "Everything can be taken away from a man except for one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." And this quote speaks volumes. Only paying our time and attention towards the negative aspects of life will only result in disappointment and dissatisfaction in return. This is familiar to all of us. We've all sat in school or work just thinking about how tired we are. The day feels never ending. On the other hand, if we pursue the positives, life will reward us with all of the honey-filled fruits that it has to offer. You see, I believe that people nowadays have the wrong perception of optimism. It is not the belief that everything is going to always naturally fall into place, but rather a conviction and hope that we have the chance to make things better. I put this into practice in the year 2021, when I challenged myself to write down the best part of my day for the whole year. I called it the 365 positives. There were some days when this challenge was extremely easy. I got into bed at the end of the day, kicked my feet up, and had to choose from the great array of things that happened that day. And while days like that were great, most days weren't like this. There were a lot of times, especially towards the beginning of this challenge, where I had to sit down for minutes just to think about a single good part about my day. But as this daily habit continued, the good was beginning to stick out more and more. I was beginning to feel more present, more focused, and especially more optimistic throughout the entirety of my day. I was surrounded by the same generic objects, same loving people, and the same tough circumstances, but I was actively making the decision to focus on the good. The most interesting part about this challenge was at the end, when I get to look back upon all the patterns and constants from throughout the year. And there was two primary things that I recognized. The first thing I realized is that most of the moments that made it to the list were just typical, ordinary experiences. A few real examples that I actually wrote down in my journal include watching the movie Anastasia for the first time, chatting with my classmates in math class, and even eating delicious potato soup. Who knew that joy could be found in such minute and what feels like insignificant moments? The second thing that I recognized is that there was one thing that never, ever, ever quite made the cut for the list. Any guesses? It was my phone. It's crazy that we dedicate so much time to an object that provides us with no fulfillment. You can't find joy in distraction, and that's just the truth. And while I'm still grasping this as a 21st century teenager, I'm beginning to implement it more and more in my day-to-day life. This challenge made me see life in an entirely new color that I didn't even know was on the palette. And I ultimately discovered that the optimism within me is something that I actively have to work on. Optimism is a choice. You're not born a half full or half empty type of person, but rather you train your mind to think that way. And it can be as easy as just highlighting the best part of your day. Optimism is the ability to transform a cold morning when all you want in the moment is for it to be over into a memory that you'll look back upon, smile, and wish it never ended. Thank you. Yes.
Test, test. Good? You guys can hear me? Okay, awesome.
Speaker B.
Discovering the optimism within me. I am constantly discovering and rediscovering the optimism within me every time Carnaval comes around. Carnaval, a famous holiday in Brazil, is a celebration of life regardless of circumstance. And as life tediously moves on, Carnaval is a reminder of how important optimism is when faced with the various challenges of today. Out of everyone in my family, I would say my grandfather is most excited about Carnaval. He's most excited about the samba, the music, the celebration. And it was not because he was the most talented or vocally inclined person in the family, but because inside of him was a spirit so full of joy and happiness that he had to let it out somehow. As a child, he grew up in the part of Brazil most people try to ignore, the slums of São Paulo. His floor was made of dirt, and he had to start working young at the age of 12. My grandfather did not grow up in the type of privilege I have living in Iowa. And yet, every Carnaval, the little boy would dance. He would dance though his feet were calloused, dance though his arms and his legs were cold, singing a famous song, often sung at Carnaval, that goes like this. Amanhã vai ser outro dia. Amanhã vai ser outro dia. Or, in English, tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another day. Years and years later, my dad was facing a different but equally difficult predicament. He was about to tell his wife and 2 kids that they would have to leave the country in less than 1 month. The beautiful house, gone. The connections, gone. The life they had built from the ground up, gone. Just like that. That is, if my dad wasn't the optimist he was. For those 2 weeks, he spent day and night studying and studying to get a student visa. My mom wouldn't even enter into his room, placing plates outside of his door like he was a prisoner. And yet, the most interesting part of this anecdote was the faint noise you could hear behind that door. Those same words drifting from my father's mouth. Amanhã vai ser outro dia. Amanhã vai ser outro dia. Tomorrow is another day. Unfortunately, there are always new challenges, new hurdles we have to tumble through to get over. A day before Carnaval this year, I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. I remember getting my vitals checked, my pulse too low for the machine to capture. I remember being told that my white blood cells and my red blood cells couldn't function correctly, and that if I continued eating the way I was, my body would shut down. But the most painful memory was that of my mother's eyes. She had anorexia, just like me. And I could see her reliving those memories through my recovery, mother and daughter trapped in the same cycle of distortions and self-hate. And yet, regardless of the pain, regardless of the suffering, regardless of the aches of today and the sting of yesterday, we celebrate life optimistically. We celebrate with samba. We celebrate with music. We celebrate with our voices as they proclaim, tomorrow is another day and another chance to discover the optimism within me. Thank you.
Testing, testing, it's working? Okay.
Speaker C.
Discovering the optimism within me. That's a little easier said than done. Growing up, I was a chronic pessimist. But in my sophomore year of high school, at one of the peaks of COVID and lowest emotional valleys of my life, my English teacher assigned us a reading from David Foster Wallace's 2005 commencement address entitled "This is Water." In his address, Wallace posits that the importance of thinking isn't the ability to think, but rather the ability to choose what we think about and how. Wallace's speech changed my life. It was Wallace's speech that made me realize I didn't like being a pessimist. I didn't like going into every situation steeling myself for the worst. I was constantly tense. So I changed. I say that like it was an easy decision. It wasn't. And like I'm not still working on it every single day. I am. But in some ways, it was as easy as choosing to think the best, even without believing it, until one day I hope to begin to do it naturally. The person speeding past me on the highway, they're on their way to an important job interview. The person who snapped at me at work just had a long day. Even if it isn't always true, I prefer to live in a world where I believe that it could be, and where others grant me the same grace on my bad days. Reality is not a static, unwavering thing. Our beliefs and our assumptions shape our worlds. In Wallace's speech, he says, if you are so sure that you know what reality is, then you, like me, probably won't consider possibilities that aren't annoying and miserable. But if you really learn to pay attention, you will know that there are other options. When we live our lives in a way where we are open to the joy and beauty and optimism that's all around us, we provide ourselves more opportunities to see those things because they are always there. I may not be able to measure a grand impact of my optimism, but I can here and today tell you that it has made my life better. And isn't that worth it? Some may call this naivety, and they could be right. Life can be tough, people can be scary, the world can be cruel. However, what I have learned in actively chasing optimism is that I would rather be a naive fool than a cynic. A rosier, albeit rose-colored lens doesn't change the reality of a situation, but it does help us reframe it. Wallace puts it more eloquently than I can when he simply says, the only thing that is capital T true is that you get to decide how you're going to see it. By allowing myself to see my own capital T truth, that the world isn't a bad place, I am uncovering the optimism within me. Oftentimes, to me, optimism has felt like a small spark of hope at the center of my heart, guiding the way. It may not always be prevalent, but it is always present. And that small bit of certainty that I will have that spark, no matter what happens, keeps me going through the peaks and the valleys of my life. So I curve my hand around it, protecting it from the wind, and hope that maybe one of these days the fire will catch. Thank you.
Speaker D.
Today, I'll be sharing my personal journey on the topic discovering the optimism within me. When balancing the massive changes of entering high school with the uncertainty of the COVID-19 pandemic, the negativity began to outweigh the optimism within me. I know this may come as a surprise as you see me standing here today, but at that time, I was diagnosed with severe anxiety. Now, as a business club leader and theater kid, I've often been told I do not look like someone who has anxiety. But that's the thing about anxiety or depression. Anyone can suffer from it, regardless of what they look like on the outside. The first time I had a panic attack, I was watching a movie with my family where the main character passed away. Vividly, I can recall the feeling of my stomach clenching, face overheating, hyperventilating, choking on tears. Later, I found out that one of the primary triggers of my anxiety was chronophobia, a fear of the passage of time. I was absolutely terrified of the lack of control I had over my loved one's passing and the uncertainty of life after death. After losing multiple family members in a short period of time, I was afraid of losing more. I was so worried and focused on things outside of my control that I couldn't see the joy in front of me. At my worst, I was having a minimum of 1 panic attack per week. From there, I began my long and difficult journey with anxiety and therapy. It definitely was not an instant change, but with the support of my family, friends, and teammates, I was able to discover the optimism within me. So, how did I do it? My journey began with one word: potential. I realized that regardless of how much time we have, we all have the potential to grow into who we want to be. Each day, we can make a positive difference in the lives of those around us because we can choose to take action. Nothing is set in stone. Even if the worst thing you can imagine happens today, time doesn't stop and tomorrow is a new beginning. That used to terrify me, but now I use it as fuel to make the most of the time I do have. With my optimism has progressed and continues to grow through my service work. With over 200 hours of volunteering in high school, as well as coordinating dozens of community service events, I've had the opportunity to support a wide variety of groups. These vary from community events to nonprofit fundraisers to school activities. Witnessing each group come together to achieve a common goal inspires me to be a part of that positive difference. One group that has impacted me is the Mackenzie Family Boys and Girls Club. For months, I was on a committee to plan a movie night fundraiser for the organization, and in the end, we raised $9,000. I was moved by the families we were supporting and the impact of my volunteer work. That potential for change, for my actions bettering my community, inspires the optimism within me. It's an exciting, wonderful thing to think about. I have the ability to make a positive difference. I can succeed and choose to do better each day. With the potential of my community at the forefront of my mind, it is easy to see the goodness in the world around me and be grateful for the amazing people in my life. With my optimism, I will continue to be an active leader in my community, helping to address issues I am passionate about, especially mental health awareness. When someone has a physical illness, they share and receive support from family, friends, and coworkers. Yet the stigma surrounding mental health convinces those who suffer that they are alone. Integrating kindergarten through 12th grade mental health education, as well as increasing staff training on support, will help change this mindset. In college, I plan to join groups focused on mental health awareness and support for students to continue being a part of this mission for change. We can help tomorrow's youth discover their own optimism and live a happy and healthy life. I have faith that my optimism and hopeful outlook will continue to grow with time. Yes, life is hard, and we all face unique challenges, but that does not mean that we cannot focus on the good that we can do for others. Discovering the optimism within me means choosing to see potential, not ticking clocks. I challenge you to do the same.
Okay. Testing. Great Plains. Not yet. Okay.
Speaker E.
Discovering the optimism within me. It's an idea that got me thinking about my 6th grade commute home, with specters of rectangular pizza slices and fears both social and algebraic flitting on the asphalt. I waited by the curb for a gray Grand Caravan. When it arrived, I was greeted warmly by my sister, a senior, and our trip began. As this cycle repeated, we developed a tradition. Every day we would listen to the same song, Mercy by Shawn Mendes. Horrific dancing and belted lyrics would follow. It was undoubtedly traumatic to anyone next to us at a red light, but to me, these moments remain vivid because they were flashes of optimism, of contentment, fullness, and connection to my sister beyond genes and battle scars on a remote control. Still, I hadn't discovered optimism, only felt its impact. To truly discover the optimism within me and within anyone requires a combination of foundation and testing. That task is made more difficult by optimism's nature, How can we discover what is abstract? Optimism's not a location to be reached, not a specimen to be seen under a microscope. It's a mindset, and the behaviors proceeding from that mindset. Even if we can't touch it, though, we can still take steps to build it up. Seeing the world optimistically requires a molding of the mind towards a spirit of fulfillment. The spirit that makes a person more concerned with praising success than judging by comparison, less aimed at finding fault than pursuing growth, and just as empowered by setbacks as victories. That intentionality comes from a rooted certainty that optimism can illuminate life and that despair can rot it from the inside out. Under the same last name, my last name, I've seen the radiance in a new parent's eyes and the gauntness of an anorexic shackled by mirrors only she could see. These memories convict me of the mind's impact on destiny. Any citadel can topple, but a mindset founded on positivity can stand a longer siege. Even with a foundation of thoughtfulness and time, though, optimism has only been inferred. A cause is only certain when its effect becomes unique. And only in suffering does optimism become extraordinary. After all, most can smile when they win the lottery or feel the exhilaration of first love. How many can maintain that hope when love sours, when hand after hand demands a fold? No poker face can last forever. And the most profound optimism is bared only when fate leaves us naked. No fig leaves, no lucky breaks, just ourselves. And whatever hope we can muster. It's fitting then that some of optimism's most piercing poets lived through extreme tragedy. Viktor Frankl, a psychotherapist and Holocaust survivor, once wrote that everything can be taken from a man except one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. When we can stare calamity in the eyes and defy it to wipe the smile off our faces, that is when we've discovered the optimism in ourselves. An optimism born not of chance, but of choice. Now, we can't know when those calamities will come and the dustiest corners of our psyches face the spotlight. But the only guarantee of failure lies in doubt. To be an optimist is to breathe faith. A faith that in every moment I can prosper others and bring myself closer to freedom from circumstance. So, have I discovered the optimism within me? I don't know for sure, but I would rather stand unflinchingly on a false hope than be too timid to see the world through the windshield of a gray Grand Caravan. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is going to be online, so I'm just going to check and see if we can get the speaker online and check the voice. Okay, can you please say something? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
And we can hear you. That's awesome. Thank you. I'll let you know when to go, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, speaker F.
Discovering the optimism within me. As a bubbly 10-year-old, I loved Transformers. You know, those cool aliens that can turn into cars. Film characters adapted from Hasbro's toy line of the same name. I loved how I could fold a few parts and race them with friends, or unfold them and could play family in my dollhouse. My favorite Transformer was the fictional Optimus Prime. His name sounds awfully similar to Optimist, and funny enough, optimism itself is a transformer. My path to optimism, though, starts with the very real James Clear, author of the internet viral book Atomic Habits. And in it, he says that simply changing have to get to in a sentence completely transforms how we view everything in life. I don't have to do my homework today. I get to practice what I've learned. This got me thinking, what if I replace failure with experience, obstacle with opportunity? I self-published a poetry collection last year, and a failure I got to know very, very well was the struggle of digital formatting. However, I used what I had learned from each previous experience to get closer to success with each new try. An obstacle I faced over and over again was my own desire to give up due to the size of my project. I realize now, though, that this was an opportunity for me to prove to myself that I could reach my potential. My mom taught me the Chinese saying, 岁岁平安, literally meaning always peaceful. The Chinese words for broken and age are both pronounced 岁. So essentially, that dropping and breaking a plate signifies a happy and peaceful life. While this may sound ridiculous, it is at its core what James Clear said, only instead of replacing one word with another, we're transforming the meaning of a single word. We are choosing to view an otherwise negative situation as something that could lead us to happiness, just like seeing failure as experience or obstacle as opportunity. But then I realized the harsh truth that we cannot live forever. Optimus Prime might be able to live millions of years, but we do not get that privilege. Much of our lives even are already decided for us. So how can we be happy then? By watching Kung Fu Panda. Growing out of my Transformers phase, I decided to watch a chubby panda fight ancient Chinese demons. It was him that taught me the concept of inner peace. If I can't change my external environment, littered with expectations that I may not want to, but must meet, then the only way that I can be happy is by transforming my internal environment. I have to go to school every day, yes, but what if I thought of it as a privilege that it is? The expectation that I go to school does not change, but how I view it does. And that makes all the difference. I learned from Kung Fu Panda that happiness is a choice, and so is optimism. It is as simple as folding a few parts into a few others, in that we must allow optimism to transform our everyday existing into living, because there is a difference. Existing is realism, while living is optimism. Now, some believe that optimism dilutes the integrity of our lives, as if it cannot inhabit the same space as realism. Understandable, but I learned that that is not true. Optimism is simply taking reality, recognizing and solving the same problems, only being happier doing it. Optimus Prime and Kung Fu Panda may not be real people, obviously, but their impact on me was real. They showed me that my path to reach optimism was misguided because it was there all along within me. Because while optimism, a transformer, cannot turn us into cars, I wish, it can and does transform our existing into living. In fact, the Optimus in Optimus Prime is Latin for best, because optimism is the best way by which to live. And the only place that it truly exists ladies and gentlemen, is within ourselves.
Speaker F, please stay with us. I can ask everybody to join us on stage in the order in which you spoke. And ladies and gentlemen, how do we recognize these fine contestants? So what I'm going to ask you to do is introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, where you're going in your education, if you can. Obviously recognize any supporters you have, and anything else you want to tell us about yourself, okay?
Hi, my name is Avery Stephanie. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, and I graduated from Gretna High School in May, and I will be attending Kansas State University in the fall to study civil engineering. I just want to say a big thank you to my parents for coming and all the family and friends that I have supporting me online. Also, thank you to Optimist International, of course, for just putting this whole thing together and giving all of us the opportunity to share such a great message and grow so much from it. I'd also like to say thank you to those at Gretna High School who encouraged me to get here and helped me along the way. So thank you so much.
My name is Carolina DePaula. I'm from Iowa, and I will be attending University of California, San Diego next year. I wanted to thank Mark and Anne, who are here from Ankeny supporting me, and my dad, who's here as well. I know my family in Brazil right now is watching and supporting me. And I also wanted to thank the two other people who came from West Des Moines. Go Iowa! It's awesome to see people coming out here to support. And I think that's it. Oh, my bad. In college, I will be majoring in political science. So hopefully I'll get into law school and will be a lawyer.
I'm Alyssa Alonso. I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I am going to UW Milwaukee in the fall to study history, to eventually go into museum studies. Thank you to my parents and my little brother who I dragged along and made listen to my speech about 1 million times. And go read David Foster Wallace's commencement address. It's really, really good.
Hello, my name is Lily Breyer. I am from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. I just graduated high school, so I will be attending the University of Wisconsin-Madison to study data science and business. I want to give a huge thank you to Sun Prairie Optimist Club and the Southern Wisconsin District for all of your support throughout all of this contest. I originally started out in the essay contest, but because of the amazing Sun Prairie chapter, I came over to this speech contest, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. So thank you.
And my name is Ryan Pressler. I'm from Brandon, South Dakota. I'm a rising freshman at the University of Sioux Falls in South Dakota. And thank yous to my parents, to Mr. Jeremy Risty for being an advocate for this competition and for me personally, and for my sister for getting married, because that's how I got this suit. Oh, and majoring in English and history, but I'm taking suggestions if you have them.
Thank you. Speaker F.
Hi, everybody. I'm Caroline G. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, and I just graduated from Western Canada High School this year, so I'll be attending Western University over in Ontario this fall, pursuing a dual degree in computer science and business. First, I definitely want to thank the Optimist Club of Calgary and Optimist International for creating this opportunity and for getting me here essentially. So I'm really grateful for them. And then I'd also like to thank my family, especially my dad, who's been to every single speech competition I've ever competed in since I was very little. So thank you, Dad. I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Please stay with us. We're going to get pictures up front. The next session will Speaker F, they would like to know where you're speaking from.
I'm currently speaking from China.
Thank you. Stay on, please. Okay, so we can get a picture. If you want to step forward, the next session will be starting at 11:30. So in about 30. Okay, I've been corrected. 10 minutes break. Okay, I think we can release you now. You can go and have, what time is it there, by the way? In China?
12 a.m. 12 a.m.
12 a.m. Okay, you can go to bed now, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so
you.
much and welcome back. I'm glad you're actually going to university that's 60 miles from where I live. So
Oh, wow.
welcome. Congratulations. We'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Can everyone on Zoom hear the auditorium?
I can hear.
If we could have all the Mid-Atlantic contestants come on up and we'll get the mic on and get tested and get ready here. So Mid-Atlantic, make sure everybody's here.
Testing.
So, hold on, we're not ready to go yet. Just a couple times.
Testing, 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 testing.
And they'll call you up when they're ready. Okay.
Test, test.
Testing. Testing, test, test, test. Okay.
Can you test one more time?
Testing.
Try a ABC for it.
Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
Sounds good.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Welcome to the Mid-Atlantic region. And I will just remind you, most of you have heard this already. Just remember, we do not leave the room or come into the room while one of our speakers is presenting. And make sure that, I know we're tempted, but do not applaud until after all the speakers have finished. And with that, we're ready for Speaker A.
Discovering the optimism within me. Optimism. Optimism is being hopeful and confident in a certain situation or outcome. Being optimistic can be very difficult, especially for a young teenage girl in today's world. All you're worried about is what other people think of you and negative thoughts about yourself. Having to wake up every morning with the right mindset, knowing today is going to be just like yesterday, can be very difficult. You wake up, you get ready for school, you learn for 7 hours just to have to get home to do your homework, get ready for bed, sleep, and repeat. It can really take a toll on someone's mental health. But no matter what, you have to be optimistic for a better outcome. At some point in my life, everything felt like a never-ending cycle. Nothing really excited me anymore. I had very little to look forward to, and it was not only affecting me mentally, but it was also affecting my performance in school. I take my grades very seriously. Anything lower than a B for me is not normal. So when I realized how badly my attitude was affecting my grades, I knew something had to be done. I started staying on top of all my classes. When I woke up in the morning, instead of thinking about how terrible my day was going to go, I woke up with a positive mindset of having a good day. And after a while, my grades were back to normal and I was back happy and looking forward to waking up every morning. That is how I discovered the optimism within me. Another way I struggled to find optimism in a certain situation was last year. My best friend, Chelsea, moved away to the Philippines. She was one of my closest and only friends who truly understood and knew me. Her parents were so strict and did not allow her to have a phone. She had moved oceans away and I had no contact for her and no chance of ever seeing her again. It felt like I lost a part of me. During school, when I wasn't feeling good, she was there. When I didn't understand something, she was there. When I just wasn't having a good day, she was there. She never left my side, no matter what. And so when she moved away, it felt like I lost a part of me. I began to dread everything and everyone. Going to school, hated it. Performing in shows, hated it. Going out with my family and my friends, hated it. The reason I began to hate and dread all these different things was because just a few months ago, I was doing it all with my best friend. But I knew just sitting around and being all sad about it wasn't going to change anything. She wasn't just going to come back no matter how upset I was about it. That's when I realized if I couldn't be great with her, I could be great for her to make her proud. That is how I discovered the optimism within me. Another thing I realized really just tried to suck the optimism out of me It's just society altogether. You could have the utmost confidence in yourself, whether it's the makeup or the dress you have on, if someone is going to try to knock you down. Either you're too short or too tall, too fat or too skinny. Some days in this world, you can just never win. There have been times where I have felt so pretty and I've been so confident to go out with my friends and have a good time and enjoy myself for my own validation. But someone always has something to say about it. It can really make you not want to go out and have a good time and enjoy yourself at the simple fact that you just don't want to hear what other people have to say about you. But sometimes you just got to ignore them and move on. To be optimistic, you have to have the mindset that no one else's opinion should matter but yours. If you feel pretty, then you should be able to go out feeling pretty without worrying about what other people have to say. And that is the mindset I had to put myself in. To be optimistic, you have to have confidence. Having confidence can make a lot of things you go through in life much easier. No matter what, someone is always going to have comments on you. But it is your job to turn those negative things into positive things. Life can get really tough, but we all only have one life to live. Making the best out of it is the best course of action. That is how I discovered the optimism within me. Thank you.
Testing. Testing, testing. Okay.
Can we have the judge that's live streaming let the directors know when you're ready?
I'm ready.
Speaker B.
Discovering the optimism within me. How much money do you think America spends on end-of-life healthcare each year? $10 million? 10 billion? No, $365 billion each year. You could buy all the Chick-fil-A's in the world, not once, but 135 times with that much money. In the medical world, 25% of all healthcare spending happens in the last year of people's lives. Now, why is that? Why spend so much money right before the inevitable? Hope, love, and optimism. That's why. Personally witnessing my uncle struggling courageously through the various stages of cancer inspired me to discover the optimism within myself. I will be looking at optimism through the lens of the 3 steps of his medical journey: diagnosis, treatment, and cure. In May of 2022, my uncle's life was flipped upside down. He was diagnosed with stomach cancer. At first, I was shocked because I just couldn't imagine him with cancer. He always made up the most interesting games and took me on hikes and adventures. He's an amazing teacher who blesses many people's lives with his humor, knowledge, and passion. Those are definitely not things I associate with cancer. Hard things are easy for us to deny because we simply don't like them. Like when you for sure failed a test, so you just don't check Power School, because if you don't check Power School, who's to say it even happened? The diagnosing stage of our problems requires an honest and positive look at what our futures will hold, even with its hardships. As you move into the next stage of things, it's important to keep a positive mind, because at the time of diagnosis, you don't know what the whole situation is. So you have to step back and look at your future in a relaxed way. My uncle started his treatment plan of doing chemo over the summer in the hopes of destroying his cancer before school started back. Having cancer is like having millions of microscopic people in your body raging a battle to the death against your organs. But even in those hard hours, he was fighting it so strongly. To support him, I decided to write him and his family a letter and did watercolor art on the cards. Even though it looked like a 5-year-old ate too many meatballs and threw up on the paper, he wrote back saying that he was so touched. He wrote me my own story called The Art Smith of Avenel. He made my family into fictional characters in this quaint little village. When my character painted things with watercolors, they would come to life the next day. I really admire that even in his hardest moments, he was able to find what he loved to do, and he fed that joy to keep going. Like his cancer, many things in our lives you have to endure to get to a better outcome. I like to call this the treatment stage, when you actually face your problems, like studying for a test, being sick, or a stressful sports game. It's vital to find reasons for joy, even in moments of sorrow, to make sure that the negative doesn't swallow the good. We could see the sunlight peeking over the darkness. We got news that his chemo worked. He was getting better, and soon he would break free from the chains of cancer. He still had to go for follow-ups and had scars that couldn't be erased. But through his trials, I found that optimism may not have cured his cancer, but it definitely transformed how he experienced it. Our whole family was overjoyed that he beat cancer. In celebration, he wanted to go to New York City for Christmas with his family and ours. I was so excited when my parents told me we were going, and it ended up being just as magical as I thought it was going to be. Even though his cancer was not a good way to spend the year, he ended out with a bang because of the optimism he held throughout. Making it to the other side of something you thought you couldn't survive gives you hope for the future. My uncle's journey taught me a valuable lesson about overcoming your difficulties to find the optimism deep within. When you first come upon a struggle, you have to diagnose what you're going through and look hopefully at your future. Then, in the treatment stage, you need to take action with those positive thoughts. Finally, once you've reached the end and overcome your struggle, you've brought healing to your negativity with positivity. Optimism can cure. It takes courage, and it really helps to have someone who successfully battled through to the other side. But finding optimism is essential and can even be the difference between how you experience life and death. Thank you.
Test, test. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Yeah.
Speaker C.
My speech topic is discovering the optimism within me. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no right way to say this, but I'm naturally pessimistic. Yes, I know the best way to start a speech titled Discovering the Optimism Within Me. But keep in mind, I use the word naturally. So when I say pessimism, I mean that it's always easier to give up, to get angry, to surrender. You see, optimism isn't something that comes easy. It's something that you have to work for, to train for, to sculpt into the best mold fit for you. And for me to fully explain this concept, I feel best to tell you a story about me that actually takes place in these same circumstances. You see, this story takes place during my first ever oratorical competition. And safe to say, I didn't do so well. I spoke in stutters and mispronunciations. My hands were tightly glued to the side of my body, and my eyes were fixated on the small mark on the stage so as not to see any faces of disappointment in the audience. I walked off that stage embarrassed, feeling the sting of murmurs people are too polite to say in public and instead keep confined to the back of their mind. And also knowing that I was not going to win at all. I didn't. And yes, I admit at that moment, I did feel my natural pessimism come to light, ready to say that I should never do public speaking again and call me words that I'm sure if I said right now, I would surely get disqualified. But then I asked myself this question: is this the person you want to be? One that gets mad and wants to quit over any single misfortune. Is that the person I want to be? I answer no. And from that moment forward, I molded my optimism. Using it as fuel to my engine, I practiced eye contact, hand movements, vocal stretches, diction, spending hours in front of the mirror so that every hand and leg movement served a distinct purpose. And so, as I got on that same stage a year later, those same stutters and mispronunciations turned into strong, confident words that echoed with impact. And those same murmurs that at first previously stung turned into applause and handshakes. You see, this was my second oratorical competition, and I walked off that stage with one hand in my pocket, the other holding my first place trophy. I tell you this story to remind you of the person I am. And I am, well, a natural pessimist. One, like many in this room, who have felt the urge to devolve into our pessimistic tendencies, but in the end, never will. I'm a public speaker, one that has walked off that stage embarrassed, only to come back the next year walking off that same stage only proud. And that's only because I am who I am, a practicing optimist, one who tries to look at the bright side, no matter how foggy the view might be. And I will be the first to admit I will have my good days and my bad, but in the end, I will learn and I will evolve. Thank you.
Start the alphabet. All right. I've got something for you. Ready? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. A, B, C, D. Which is, there you go. Which is me.
You could hear.
Okay.
Are they A, B, C?
Nothing? I think so. Okay.
Speaker D.
Discovering the optimism within me. Now, I would like to open with a very important question. So I want everyone here to just prepare themselves. Do you see a glass of water as half empty or half full? Apparently, if that glass is half full, you're an optimist. But if that glass is half empty, you're a pessimist. Now, I don't know about you, but that glass is actually entirely full. One half with water, the other half with air. It's full. None of this half stuff. So I don't know what that question is trying to say, or if it means I'm a super optimist. But even being a super optimist, weeks ago, when I was asked, how did you discover the optimism within yourself? I didn't even know where to begin. I had to figure out what that even meant. So to start, I found myself on Google, where Oxford Languages defined optimism as the hopefulness and confidence about the future or the successful outcome for something. To me, that sounds like optimism is that feeling of readiness. When I am ready for something, like an event or an assignment, I feel strongly that I will do well. And that's optimism. So I've really thought long and hard about how I reach out to my inner optimism, this confidence I have. And I also know that topics like religion can be very controversial. However, I kept asking myself, how did I discover that optimism within me? And every train of thought arrived at the same station. And that's my Christianity. So I have a very close friend, and we're going to call her Kara. So me and Kara have been friends for a very long time, since preschool, in fact. And I know that I have never, not ever, not even once in my life, been mad at her. So there's something I'm optimistic about, right? I'm confident I will remain stuck with Kara for the rest of my life. So one day I got on a phone call with her, and she said, guess what I just did? I just bought some bracelets with Bible verses on them. I was like, okay, cool. And then she said, all right, I'll read them to you and then I'll send you your favorite one. And I was like, wait, Kara, you just bought those bracelets. I'm not going to take one from you. And then she said, and I remember this well, she said, girl, we already agreed you could have one. Already agreed? When did we agree on this? You just told me about them. But she was persistent. She read them aloud and I picked my favorite one. And that happened to be Psalms 46:5. God is within her. She will not fail. And then a couple weeks later, when our parents were able to schedule for us to hang out, she came to my house with that bracelet in hand. That gift was extremely thoughtful of her. And at the time, neither of us had known how much it would help me. Now, one quick fact about me is although I may project this confidence, I am actually incredibly nervous. I'm nervous to speak. I'm nervous to kick a ball in gym class. I'm nervous to take a test. I am so nervous that in school, even raising my hand just to ask to go to the bathroom, I preferred to wait until my teacher was at their desk so I could walk up and whisper, can I use the restroom? And I did all of that just to avoid speaking in front of my classmates. So I get this bracelet, and suddenly I continuously find myself glancing down at Psalms 46:5. God is within her, she will not fail. Then, day by day, my stomach starts to twist in nervousness, but I see God is within her, she will not fail. And suddenly, I get a sensation. She will not fail. Will not fail. If I can't fail in the eyes of my God, then what am I even worrying about? One day, I go down to sit for a math test. God is within me. I will not fail. And all of a sudden, this overwhelming dread from inside of me simmers down to the understanding that what I'm doing is just a test. From then on, I find myself overall braver. I'm not afraid to speak in front of my classmates. I'm not afraid to kick a ball in gym class. I can publicly announce when I need to use the restroom because every student has had to do that at least once in their life. I've discovered that my faith has solved the root of several of my problems, my nervousness. And now, anytime I'm nervous, I look down at that bracelet and I'm optimistic. I'm stepping out of my shadow. I'm thriving in my optimism. And that's all because Kara gave me a bracelet that strengthened my Christianity. Religion can be a huge part of life. For some, it affects how they act, what they eat, how they spend their time, how you perceive others. So how did I discover my optimism? I focused on my faith. Thank you. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
A little louder.
Yeah. A, B, C, D.
Speaker E.
Discovering the optimism within me. You see, that's actually kind of funny because me and optimism have been in a bit of a battle for a while now. 4 years ago, I discovered that my life was changing. I didn't feel like I used to. It felt as if my mind had put a barrier between me and my friends. I didn't want to go outside unless it was absolutely necessary, and I felt weighted to my bed, leading me to almost never get up. Soon after these thoughts started, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, which has followed me to this day. Nasty thoughts were constantly being placed into the foreground of my mind, and I didn't know what to do about it. So yeah, me and optimism have had better days when it comes to our relationship. Now, a little bit about myself, besides the fact that I have depression, I'm a dancer. And I've been dancing for 15 years in my local studio, doing everything from jazz to tap to ballet to modern to lyrical to point to hip hop to everything in between. Now, anyone can tell you that the dance world is pretty intense. I'm sure you've all seen or at least heard of the show Dance Moms, with crazy directors, bratty children, and of course, moms causing drama. But I was lucky enough to be raised in a studio that is almost the complete opposite. My teachers are incredibly loving and supporting, and I have made friendships that will last me a lifetime. And in those 15 years of experience, I discovered that my optimism can be found within the art. Even when my relationship with optimism was shattered on the floor by my depressive disorder, it slowly started to piece itself back together when I entered those studio doors. I realized I could leave my nasty thoughts at home and be surrounded by people who I consider my second family. And when my depression almost took over, I made a promise to myself where I said I would never take dance for granted again. And that's what I've done. Dance has become my North Star, my happiness, and the reason I get out of bed. And when I made dance my priority, my relationship with optimism started to look just a little bit brighter. And with this new light shed on dance, I entered a new era where I decided I not only wanted to become a class assistant, but also a dance teacher. I started teaching last year, and I've also been a class assistant for a few years now. Many people do anything that they can to try to avoid working with children. But for me, it is the complete opposite. You see, children have this amazing way of seeing the world that especially adults just do not have. And in teaching children, I've discovered that optimism can be found even in the strangest of places. There's a particular class that stands out to me that was full of around 12 3-year-olds. Now, 3-year-olds are hard to work with to begin with, but just imagine 12 3-year-olds with noisemakers on their feet. Don't get me wrong, I love tap, but yikes. Although I wanted to pull my hair out on occasion, I found love for every single one. There's a particular child who stands out to me who is no bigger than about 3 feet high, had the cutest pair of glasses, and always had something to say. One day, while I was teaching a move called a shuffle step, I heard a tiny voice shout from the back of the classroom with all of her might, I think I'm getting the hang of this. 8 words that have stuck with me throughout all of these years. This child was putting all of her heart into learning a move that we may call elementary, but it was hard for her. Think about that. It was hard for her. I think we can all find some optimism in the statement, I think I'm getting the hang of this. Recognizing that you are making progress on something that you are trying to accomplish. This child made me question in myself, why do I only celebrate perfection and do not celebrate progress? This 3-year-old made me realize that discovering optimism is recognizing that baby steps are just as worthy and important for celebration. And in teaching children, I discovered that optimism can be discovered within you and within me, even with a diagnosis that tells you that it may be hard to find. And when I think I cannot get through a day, I think of that little girl celebrating her progress. My progress is reaching out to my friends, even if it is just a short text to say, hello, I miss you. My progress is working to go outside, even if it is just for a few breaths of fresh air. My progress is working to remove those weights that kept me in my bed all those years ago. My progress is working through my nasty thoughts to try to rebuild that friendship with optimism that I lost so many years ago. And my progress is coming to speak to all of you. And you know, when my teacher recommended that we do a speech about optimism, I was afraid that I would miss my mark. But you know what? I think I'm getting the hang of this. Thank you.
Speaker F, can you hear us okay? Unmute there. Can you maybe give us a little ABCs just to make sure we can hear you as well?
Yes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Okay, well, thank
Yeah.
you. As soon as the judges are ready, I will announce you. So just hang with us for a second. I guess they're ready. So Speaker F.
When can I start?
You may begin.
Oh, okay. Discovering the optimism within me. A quick Google search would define optimism as the hopefulness or confidence for the outcome of something or the future. And if you take a little bit more time and you look at the second definition, the doctrine set forth by Leibniz that this is the best world of all possible worlds. And somebody might define it as rebirth, a bittersweet genesis, a shift in perspective. Optimism is viewing loss in a world full of color rather than gray. However, we don't go from our wits splitting at our ends to viewing the world as a beautiful masterwork. For some of us, it's hard to view the glass as half full. Personally, I've struggled with anxiety and depression my entire life. I've been on countless medications. I've gone on countless hours of therapy, and I've had other obstacles, such as financial struggle, such as my father's deportation, abuse, and abandonment. However, it took me a complete loss of self to rediscover optimism, to find light in my life. So my first piece of advice is to listen. According to the National Alliance on Mental Health, suicide is the second leading cause of death among people ages 15 to 24. 20% of high school students have reported thoughts of suicide. 9% have attempted. I am part of that 9%. My apocalypse was 3 days at a mental health institute after an attempt. Oddly enough, this was where I also rediscovered optimism by focusing on the remains rather than the losses. I remember spending time there and hearing these stories. People express wanting to go back to play sports, seeing their friends, or there was even this girl who said, I want to live so I can write poetry. I want to be a published author. People miss the sunsets, their grandmothers, and even drinking soda because, well, we were only allowed to drink water for the most part. And so my third piece of advice, find bits of joy everywhere. Their stories inspired me to find my own bits of joy. So with my little green marker, I sat down in my plastic chair and I listed things that had still remained present in my life, despite all the loss and destruction. 1, my mother. 2, my siblings. 3, my 8th grade English teacher. 4, the McDonald's cashier that complimented my hair once and it made me feel fantastic. And so on. I even listed musicians that brought me the most joy, foods and smells and books. And my 3rd piece of advice: unlearn thoughted ways. Blast through the hills and don't be afraid to begin again. I thank the universe for keeping me alive. I realized that I wanted to have optimism the same way the McDonald's cashier and my mother had it. I wanted to share stories and compliments. So I made it my mission to start sharing my story as a 2nd-generation immigrant and what that's like. I made it my mission to spread my joy by giving compliments. And I made it my mission to spread joy by sharing my story and how I overcame my mental health struggles. And so if you ask me how I discovered optimism again, I would say that I focused on all the things that I loved and all the things that remained unfinished. And I took the losses and I put them to the side just for a second. Finding optimism is a journey. And it's important that we're always kind to one another and especially to ourselves. And once you discover it, never be afraid to spread it. Thank you.
Speaker F, if you would stay with us, so what we're going to do is we're going to introduce all of the speakers. But before we do that, let's have everyone here give all of our champions from the Mid-Atlantic region a round of applause. And then I would invite each of you to come on stage in the speaking order, and I'll have you introduce yourself. Maybe tell a little bit about where you're from, your educational plans, who you brought with you, and perhaps also who you would like to thank, some of your supporters. And Speaker F will also ask you to do that as well. So we'll start with Speaker A.
Hi, my name is Kiara Haley. I'm an upcoming 11th grader. I'm from Wilson, North Carolina, and I go to a school called Sally B. Howard. I brought my mom with me today. And I just wanted to thank everybody, and especially my mom, for bringing me here. And it's just a great opportunity. And I'm just so glad to be here and compete with everybody.
Hi, everyone. My name is Smith Galvin, and I originally started this competition as an 8th grader. And now I am a rising 9th grader going to Myers Park next year in Charlotte. And I'd like to thank my mom for being here and flying to St. Louis with me. And I'd like to thank my speech coach, Miss Bosch, and my ELA teacher, Mrs. Cook, who originally inspired me with this competition, and all of my friends and family watching. I just really appreciate all your support.
Hi, my name is Ryan Augustine. I'm an upcoming freshman in college. I'm going to be attending Indiana Bloomington, majoring in finance. And I would like to thank my parents, all my family, for helping me advance my public speaking skills. And I would also like to thank the Optimist Club of Fairfax, Virginia, which is the one I go to. And they have been a really good driving force for me to do these competitions and give me a lot of good advice. Thank you to all.
Hi, my name is Avery Weber. I'm from Maryland. Things about Maryland, crabs in Ocean City. I'd like to thank the Optimist Club International and the Optimist Club in Maryland. And I would like to thank my dad for being in St. Louis with me, my mom, for being my mom, my grandparents, my teacher, Dr. Ridgely, who got me into speech writing, and one of my best friends, Sylvia Dexter, who is in my speech as Kara. And thank you all so much.
Hello, my name is Eve Cruz. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm 18 years old. I just graduated high school, but I will be taking a gap year to pursue a career in social work. I want to thank my beautiful mom for bringing me, my dad and my brothers. I want to thank my friends at home and my beautiful partner. I would love to thank little Scarlett, who is the subject of my speech. Thank you to my dance teachers for giving me this amazing story to tell. Thank you to all the optimists who gave us this experience, and congratulations to all the other competitors.
Well, thank you. Speaker F, if you would introduce yourself and tell us a little about you.
My name is Amy Roblero, and I am from Bardstown, Kentucky. I'm very thankful to my mother for always inspiring me and pushing me to, I guess, write, to always write. And I'm very thankful for, again, my 8th grade English teacher, who, again, always pushed me to keep writing and to keep telling my story and to never be afraid of the reactions I would get or anything. But yeah, I'm very excited. I really wish I could have been there in person. Unfortunately, I had a conflict of events that would not allow me to do that. But I'm still very, very thankful. Thank you.
Yeah, good job. Well, again, congratulations to each of our champions from the Mid-Atlantic region. And Speaker F, if you'll just stay on one more minute, we're going to take a picture here, a group picture. So if I could have all of you that are here in person come down and about here. And then we're going to put you're up on the big screen. Hopefully we can just get it where Speaker F is there. There we go. And we will do a photo op. It's just like a press conference here. With that, we will break for lunch, and we will start back up at 1:30. Try to be here about 10 minutes ahead of time at least. Thanks. And Speaker F, thank you. And you can go ahead and leave us for now and join us in the morning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.